Welcome to the Flame Tree Myth and Fiction podcast.
Revenge is a dish best served cold. But why do people say that? Is it because revenge is more satisfying after you've had time to savour the anticipation? Because the best plans take time to hatch? Or perhaps because the greatest revenge is the one that catches its victim completely by surprise? Whatever the reason, today's stories serve revenge on a silver platter, lavishly garnished with betrayal, jealousy, and dark retribution. Our first story comes, fittingly, from our brand new anthology Best Served Cold, part of our Beyond and Within series. This collection explores the many faces of revenge through the lens of crime fiction. Edited by friends of the podcast, Paul Kane and Maria Regan, the anthology brings together stories from some of the biggest names in the genre, alongside outstanding voices selected through open submissions. For today's episode, we've chosen The Unwanted Legs by Roz Watkins. Invited by the editors to contribute to the collection, Roz is the acclaimed author of the D.I. Meg Dalton series and the standalone thrillers The Red House and The Wicked Girls. Her debut novel was shortlisted for the Debut Dagger award, while The Red House was named one of the Times' 100 best books of the summer. Like her novels, this story is unsettling, psychologically sharp, and guaranteed to leave you with a lingering sense of unease. Before we begin, we're delighted to share a short introduction from Roz herself.
Hi, I'm Roz Watkins, and I'm the author of the D.I. Meg Dalton crime series and also the psychological thrillers The Red House and The Wicked Girls. My story is The Unwanted Legs, and it's about two young women who meet each month in a pub and talk about their lives. And they're both quite unhappy with the way their lives are going. They're both lawyers. They're both wondering how on earth they ended up doing jobs that they really don't enjoy. And then one month, one of the women comes up with a rather creative way to escape from the boredom of her life, shares it with her friend. But her friend gradually becomes more and more unimpressed with this solution. And I suppose I was motivated to write the story because the characters kind of came to me. And I was just really interested in their various psychologies and motivations. And there are a few different ways in which people get revenge within the story, some of them more overt than others. I'm not going to say too much more about the story because I don't want to spoil it, but I really hope that you enjoy it.
Without further ado, here is The Unwanted Legs by Roz Watkins, read by our newest narrator, Cornelia Coleman.
The Unwanted Legs by Roz Watkins. Kate nabbed the only free table in the crowded wine bar, by the Loos, and wondered why she carried on coming to this place full of braying city types intoxicated on coke and money. Habit, she guessed, and inertia. Her friend Anna slapped 2 glasses on the table and said, "Just wait till you hear about my latest client." Kate and Anna had been friends since university. Once a month they'd meet after work, drink too much, complain about their jobs, and dream of escaping lives they didn't remember signing up to. Kate raised her voice over the din of Friday night drinkers. "Go on, spill all." Anna knocked the table in her haste to sit down and share her story. "Not the bloody wine," Kate said. She felt a stab of irritation that Anna always told her news first. Anna folded her arms and looked at Kate with the challenging expression of a quiz show host. "Guess what this client wants?" To kill himself? No, to kill his wife. Anna's firm specialised in medical cases. The more controversial, the better. No, you'll never get it. Anna leaned forwards, tucking her dark hair behind her ear to keep it out of her wine. He wants his legs chopped off. Kate swallowed. Fair enough. This warranted telling first. Why? What's wrong with them? She crossed her own legs and smoothed the short skirt of her business suit towards her knees. That's what makes it so weird. There's nothing wrong with his legs. He's got a condition where you want bits of you chopped off, even though they're physically fine. Jesus, Anna, that's not a thing. It is a thing. It's called body integrity identity disorder. It's pretty rare. You don't say! People want rid of their limbs. They lie on train tracks if they can't get them medically removed. Kate took a moment to picture this, but couldn't. You're not going to help him, are you? Maybe. Kate had grown used to Anna's odd legal cases, but she found this particular one disturbing. She thought of soldiers who'd lost legs in conflict, and how they'd feel about this man who wanted to throw away what they must yearn for so desperately. Can't they cure it? She asked. You can't chop his legs off, Anna. Her friend took a large swig of Sauvignon Blanc. He's tried therapy and drugs, and it hasn't made any difference. To be honest, compared to most of my clients, he seemed quite sane. I said I'd look into it and talk to one of the partners. Although Kate was unsettled by the idea of this man and his unwanted legs, she was relieved to see Anna taking an interest in the case. It was rare for her to talk about her job without any mention of slitting her wrists or hurling herself in front of a bus. Kate felt jumpy walking home. The street lamps cast a hazy, greenish light, and she saw shimmering figures in her peripheral vision. Once home, she Googled Body Integrity Identity Disorder. There it was, BIID. According to Wikipedia, a psychological disorder wherein sufferers feel they would be happier living as an amputee. Sufferers claimed they felt normal in every other way, and those that had undergone amputations, when it was allowed, did well. If not helped, they often tried to amputate their own limbs, with gruesome consequences. Kate finally went to bed at 2 a.m. and dreamt of losing her legs in a train crash. The next month, Kate and Anna splashed out on cocktails. The bar was rammed, and they squeezed onto a small table in the corner. A man's suited bottom knocked Anna's glass. I don't know why we keep coming here, she said. It's gross, and I can smell urinal balls. Probably not the only balls you can smell, Kate replied, nodding towards the suited bottom, which Anna then stabbed with a cocktail stick, looking away innocently when the man whipped his head around. Anna took a swig of her cocktail. 16 quid, she said. Literal daylight robbery. Kate didn't correct the use of literal. We only splurge once a month. Anyway, how's that strange guy who wants his legs chopped off? David? I said I'd take the case. Oh, it's David now, is it? So your partners weren't concerned about the ethics? You know my firm's position on ethics. He's loaded, and he bankrolled a client in a high-profile case a while back. The partners in the firm want another slice of his money. Whether he loses his legs is pretty incidental. Kate felt a sudden necessity to understand. What could possibly make someone feel that way? It's just unbelievable that he doesn't want his legs, she said. He feels about his legs like you would if you suddenly had an extra arm sprouting out of your back. Could be useful batting away the idiots in this bar, Kate muttered. A man in a stripy shirt squashed her against the table and said something very loud in a public school voice with a twang of fake street. She grabbed a cocktail stick. Why the court case, anyway? Can't he just pay to get it done? It's not legal. Someone in Asia would do it, but he doesn't fancy that. He wants a court order for it to be done legally, but he says if he loses the case, an old friend will do it for him anyway. A friend would do that? Kate pictured the implements that would be required to cut through a grown man's thigh. This wasn't something you could do in your garage with a hacksaw and some bolt cutters. He was the doctor in that case, you know, with the rugby player. Kate remembered the case. The tragic young man, paralysed and desperate to die. The delicate-faced doctor who helped him, illegally, and the mystery benefactor who paid for the expensive team of lawyers. She recalled the doctor sobbing outside court when he was acquitted. A man like that wouldn't have fared well in prison. He'd do anything to repay David, said Anna. He runs a private clinic now, doing vascular surgery and amputations, so it would look genuine. They'd invent the medical history, sepsis or something. They've got it all worked out. Kate pictured the two men hatching their surreal plan. She wondered if this man Peter would be able to go through with it once he was in the operating theatre, poised over David's healthy legs, saw in hand. She rubbed her calf absent-mindedly. How will he manage with no legs? He can pay for everything he needs. You know, special equipment, carers, whatever. He's fought against the condition his whole life, and now he wants to indulge himself. Kate contemplated how other rich people indulged themselves. Phallic space rockets, private islands, yachts, vaccination programs, rape crisis centres. Sad to be so wealthy, and that's your idea of an indulgence, she said. He must be very odd. Actually, he's all right. I find him okay to work with and is not penny-pinching, so I can charge plenty of time to the case. I'm now the world's expert on BIID. Honestly, I could do mastermind. You'd be shit on general knowledge, though. Only because I spent my formative years locked in a darkened room studying soul-sapping legal books. But seriously, this case has been good. The partners are liking my billing figures. So, you're feeling better about work? Yeah, I'm trying, Anna sighed. I mean, things are better than they were, although this case won't last forever, and then I'll still be trapped in the most unpleasant firm in London. Kate said nothing, because it was true. Anna was constantly torn between desperate clients with terrible afflictions and unscrupulous partners motivated only by profit. She couldn't leave because she had debts, and jobs weren't easy to come by. Kate was also a lawyer, but she worked for corporate clients on boring and unemotional matters. She did have occasional feelings of desperation and intrusive thoughts along the lines of, is this it? Is this what I worked so hard for? She'd been clever at school. She could have done anything, and yet here she was, so weighed down by debt and rents that she couldn't ever save for an escape. But even she would admit that her job was less awful than Anna's. The following month, Kate noticed Anna's eyes had lost their hollow and haunted look. "You seem well," she said. "Can I stop hiding the knives?" Anna laughed, and they chatted about nothing and drank a bottle of cheap white rather fast. As they moved on to the second bottle, Anna blurted, "Maybe I should marry him." "Who? What?" "David. You know, my leg man." "What do you mean? Why would you marry him?" Why not? He's seriously rich. He's easy to get along with. I wouldn't need to stay with him that long. But you don't love him. Anna let out a sharp laugh. Oh, Kate. Get lost, Anna. I'm serious. I could get out with a decent settlement. Kate looked at her friend's face. Her large eyes made people think she was innocent. A memory of a time at university. A boy Kate liked. Anna knew how Kate felt. But she went for him anyway. He wasn't her type. He was bookish and prone to discussing Schrodinger's cat. But Anna wanted to make another guy jealous. It all ended horribly, and then the nice boy avoided both Anna and Kate. But Anna had been young then. Surely this was a step too far. Could she be in such despair about her work situation that it seemed a viable way out? You're crazy, Kate said coldly. He'd get suspicious. He'd suss straight away you're after his cash. But we get on. I think he likes me, and I actually quite like him. You wouldn't like him so much if he was poor, would you? You're not thinking straight. You're too stressed at work. Maybe you should go back to the doctor. Give it a rest. Doctors just feed you Prozac, so you stop complaining about your crappy life. I'm not doing it anymore. I want out. He's not going for it, Anna said the next time they met. I mean, he obviously likes me, but he won't ask me out. Even though I've dropped enough hints and I keep holding our meetings at cute indie coffee shops. Well, thank God. Honestly, give it up. He sounds like a nice guy. He's got enough problems with his freakish condition. Don't make things worse. Maybe I should invite him here after our next meeting. Kate looked around her. I don't think so. He knows I'm not like his wife. There's a wife. Not anymore. She couldn't hack it. Left him after 28 years of marriage. Because of the legs thing. He never told her before. He was too embarrassed. But when he decided he wanted to take the next step, he had to tell her, and she was a cow about it. Kate imagined the shock David's wife must have felt when she realised she'd never really known her husband. It's a big deal, she said. You can't blame the wife. I'm not sure I could cope. Anna shrugged. Well, I'm okay with it. Really? You marry a healthy man and end up with an invalid, and he's done it to himself. He knows no woman would put up with that. Unless she's just after his money. Kate was relieved to hear that David wasn't falling for Anna's charms. Although she hadn't met him, she found herself dwelling on the horror of his situation. How terribly unhappy he must be to want to amputate his own legs. She was unsettled by the thought of Anna toying with the emotions of a man already carrying such a heavy burden. The next time they met, Anna brought 2 gin and tonics and a bottle of wine to the table. Are you trying to get me drunk? Kate said. I've done something bad. Anna sat down and whispered a few words in Kate's ear. Kate's gin glass smashed onto the tiled floor, shards of glass splintering at unexpected angles. A city boy leapt back and shouted, "Fuck's sake!" Kate looked down and saw a piece of glass in her leg. Shit! I'm bleeding, and I've lost a load of gin. Are you okay? Anna peered at Kate's leg. A trickle of blood oozed down the calf. Kate hissed at Anna. Yes, I'm okay, but what the fuck are you doing? Did I hear you right? Anna shrugged. Does he believe you? Kate's voice rose to a higher pitch. Seriously? Of course he does. How many hours do you think I've spent researching this for the court case? Trawling through internet forums, reading about everyone's screwed up childhoods. I almost believe it myself. I feel a bit funny about my left leg." Anna fished a tissue out of her bag and gave it to Kate to press on her injury. "Thanks," Kate said. "I can't believe what you've done. How did he react when you told him?" "He was pleased. I suppose to him it doesn't seem so weird. He's just delighted to have found someone who really understands. I told him I'd never felt my left leg belonged to me right from childhood, but until a few years ago I hadn't realised other people felt the same way. I said you're the only person I've ever told until now." "Oh, thanks a lot. Doesn't he think it's a bit bloody suspicious his lawyer has the same incredibly rare condition as him?" I said it's why I went into this branch of the law, and why I wanted to take his case on. So, no, he doesn't think it's that odd. When you're dealing with it all the time and reading all the thousands of stories on forums, you forget how rare it is anyway. You won't be able to sustain it. He'll find out you made it up and then kill you. He'll have all the contacts, a man like that. He'll disappear you, and nobody will ever find your body because it'll be festering under 80 tons of concrete underneath a new building project in Cockfosters. Stop being melodramatic. He won't find out. Once we're married, I'll work out a way to get myself cured. You said there is no cure. He knows that. This is serious, Anna. He thinks he's found a soulmate. You've gone way too far this time." Kate wanted to gesticulate and bang her fist on the table, but every time she sat up and removed the tissue from her leg, blood seeped down her calf. "I'm going to have a scar," she said. "Well, if you will hurl gin glasses around," snapped Anna. "Honestly, Kate, just keep out of it. He'll be fine. How else am I ever going to get enough money to escape this shitty existence?" At home that evening, Kate sprawled on the bed in her small, noisy, expensive flat, her mind speeding through the possibilities. Had Anna gone mad? Or was Kate the crazy one? Maybe Anna's plan was a sane response to the situation. Marry a rich man and solve all your problems. She wouldn't be the first. Anna was attractive, but not stunning. Not the kind of woman multimillionaires generally went for. Although, ironically, she did have particularly lovely legs. Maybe this was a great opportunity. At some unconscious level, was Kate jealous that Anna would escape and she would be left alone in her horrible, pointless job, without even her monthly Friday nights to sustain her? Kate eventually fell into a troubled sleep and dreamt she was running across a vast, barren landscape, but she didn't know what she was running from. When they next met, and Anna told her David had proposed, Kate struggled to play the happy best friend. She decided to focus on the practicalities. "You know you won't get a big divorce payout unless you stay married for ages and have a brood of kids." "Not true. I've checked the case law, and there's no prenup, so I should get a good settlement. I'll stay with him for a while, anyway. He's not that bad." "But Anna, he thinks you want your leg chopped off." "That was the only reason he went for you." "Only because he didn't believe I'd be interested in him otherwise." "But isn't he asking you about it? He must want to talk about it, share his feelings." "Quite a bit, yes. There's a woman on one of the forums, and I just repeat all the stuff she comes out with. She rambles on about how she feels, saying what it was like when she was a kid and how it first started." "You're pretending that you genuinely, truly want your leg amputated." Kate looked down at her own slim thigh and pictured a neatly sewn stump in its place. "Yeah, and I'm doing a bloody convincing job of it. But once we're married, I'll suggest we focus on his operation first. Then, after a while, I'm going to find a new hypnotherapy technique that helps me. My condition was caused by something that happened to me as a child, and this technique lets me go back and change the way my brain interprets it. I've looked into it, and it's possible. Not for David's problem, because his wasn't based on any incident. He's always felt the same way ever since he can remember. Your condition. You don't have a condition, except the mental problem that's making you act like a deranged lunatic. You need help. Would they even still be friends if Kate's job had allowed her any time to meet other people, better people? She thought of all the small manipulations and selfish behaviours she'd put up with over the years. Did she even like Anna? Perhaps she should contact Anna's parents. But what could she say? Oh, just thought you might want to know your daughter's pretending she wants her leg chopped off so she can marry a millionaire who wants both his legs chopped off. It didn't sound hugely plausible. Besides, they had no influence over Anna's behaviour. There was only one person who could stop this. The wedding was small but lavish, in a 12th century abbey where fragrant roses twined around mossy stone pillars. There was no hint of anything unusual. Anna glowed like a legitimate bride. David gave no hint that he'd been concerned by Kate's conversation with him. Did he not believe what she'd told him? Or did he know Anna was faking it, but want to marry her anyway? He charmed everyone, including Anna's parents, who must have been relieved how young he looked for his age. They didn't know about his legs. Anna hadn't told them about the legal case, which wasn't public yet. After the celebrations, the couple drove away in one of David's expensive electric cars to cheers of ecologically sound confetti. She'd pulled it off. Kate hoped she'd be kind to him. A couple of days later, Kate's mobile phone rang, and it was David. It was strange to hear from him. He should have been in the Dordogne.
"Kate, I hope you don't mind me calling you," he said. "I know what good friend you are with Anna. She's in hospital, and I'm sure she'd like to see you."
Oh my God! Is she okay? What happened?
"Don't worry, she's fine. I'll explain when you arrive."
David gave Kate the address. Kate ran to her car, her heart beating so hard she thought it would crack her ribs. She drove too fast to the private clinic and sprinted through the corridors to Anna's room, her trainers squeaking on the shiny floors. Anna lay sleeping, tubes snaking out of her arm. Everything was white. A strong smell of antiseptic made Kate's nose twitch. David was sitting beside Anna's bed, but rose when Kate arrived and greeted her with a relaxed smile.
"I got my darling Anna a very special surprise present," he said. "Something no one else could ever get her. Peter helped me. This is his clinic. Anna won't believe it when she wakes up. She's going to be ecstatic, don't you think?"
A loud buzzing in Kate's ears. Her mouth went dry.
"I expect she'll wake up any minute,"
David said.
"Everything went brilliantly."
But David, did you not listen when I told you? Anna doesn't really... She tailed off. Kate scrutinized his expression. He briefly caught her eye, then looked away. It flashed between them. A moment of understanding. Of course he'd listened when she told him. He knew exactly what he'd done. This was a powerful man, a multi-millionaire, not someone to be crossed. But there was something else. Kate was convinced he'd really been in love with Anna, and that had made her deception intolerable. Kate turned to the white bed, but didn't dare let her gaze move from Anna's pale face. Eyes closed peacefully,
calm expression. Eventually, she forced herself to track her eyes slowly down Anna's body, her breath tight in her chest. Finally, Kate's eyes locked onto the smooth, flat sheet where Anna's left leg should have been. The thing she couldn't forget for years afterwards was her fleeting emotion just before she started screaming. A tiny sting of satisfaction that Anna hadn't got away with it this time.
Ugh, that story makes my legs tingle every time I hear it. It's such an evocative exploration of a fascinating psychological phenomenon. And it raises an intriguing question. Who is really savouring the revenge? Anna's husband or Kate? That ambiguity makes it a perfect bridge into our second story, where revenge is every bit as chilling but far more deliberate. This time we're opening our anthology Edgar Allan Poe short stories for one of Poe's most enduring classics, The Cask of Amontillado. Once again, a relationship poisoned by resentment provides the spark for vengeance, as an irresistible temptation conceals a deadly betrayal. Here is The Cask of Amontillado by Edgar Allan Poe, read by Richard McIver.
The Cask of Amontillado by Edgar Allan Poe. The 1,000 injuries of Fortunato I had borne as I best could, but when he ventured upon insult I vowed revenge. You, who so well know the nature of my soul, will not suppose, however, that I gave utterance to a threat. At length I would be avenged. This was a point definitely settled. But the very definitiveness with which it was resolved precluded the idea of risk. I must not only punish, but punish with impunity. A wrong is unredressed when retribution overtakes its redresser. It is equally unredressed when the avenger fails to make himself felt as such to him who has done the wrong. It must be understood that neither by word nor deed had I given Fortunato cause to doubt my good will. I continued, as was my wont, to smile in his face, and he did not perceive that my smile now was at the thought of his immolation. He had a weak point, this Fortunato. Although, in other regards, he was a man to be respected and even feared. He prided himself on his connoisseurship in wine. Few Italians have the true virtuoso spirit. For the most part, their enthusiasm is adopted to suit the time and opportunity, to practice imposture upon the British and Austrian millionaires. In painting and gemmery, Fortunato, like his countrymen, was a quack, but in the matter of old wines he was sincere. In this respect, I did not differ from him materially. I was skillful in the Italian vintages myself, and bought largely whenever I could. It was about dusk, one evening during the supreme madness of the carnival season, that I encountered my friend. He accosted me with excessive warmth, for he had been drinking much. The man wore motley. He had on a tight-fitting party-striped dress, and his head was surmounted by the conical cap and bells. I was so pleased to see him that I thought I should never have done wringing his hand. I said to him, "My dear Fortunato, you are luckily met. How remarkably well you are looking today. But I have received a pipe of what passes for Amontillado, and I have my doubts." "How?" said he. "Amontillado? A pipe? Impossible! And in the middle of the carnival!" "I have my doubts," I replied, "and I was silly enough to pay the full Amontillado price without consulting you in the matter. You were not to be found, and I was fearful of losing a bargain. Amontillado. I have my doubts. Amontillado. And I must satisfy them. Amontillado! As you are engaged, I am on my way to Lucchesi. If any one has a critical turn, it is he. He will tell me, Lucchesi cannot tell Amontillado from sherry. And yet some fools will have it that his taste is a match for your own. Come, let us go." "Whither?" "To your vaults." My friend, no. I will not impose upon your good nature. I perceive you have an engagement. Lucchesi, I have no engagement. Come. My friend, no, it is not the engagement, but the severe cold with which I perceive you are afflicted. The vaults are insufferably damp. They are encrusted with nitre. Let us go, nevertheless. The cold is merely nothing. Amontillado, you've been imposed upon. And as for Lucchesi, he cannot distinguish sherry from Amontillado. Thus speaking, Fortunato possessed himself of my arm. Putting on a mask of black silk, and drawing a roquelaure closely about my person, I suffered him to hurry me to my palazzo. There were no attendants at home. They had absconded to make merry in honor of the time. I had told them that I should not return until morning, and had given them explicit orders not to stir from the house. These orders were sufficient, I well knew, to ensure their immediate disappearance, one and all, as soon as my back was turned. I took from their sconces 2 flambeaux, and giving one to Fortunato, bowed him through several suites of rooms to the archway that led into the vaults. I passed down a long and winding staircase, requesting him to be cautious as he followed. We came, at length, to the foot of the descent, and stood together on the damp ground of the catacombs of the Montresors. The gait of my friend was unsteady, and the bells upon his cap jingled as he strode. "The pipe," said he. "It is farther on," said I. "But observe the white webwork which gleams from these cavern walls." He turned towards me, and looked into my eyes with 2 filmy orbs that distilled the rheum of intoxication. "Nitre?" he asked at length. "Nitre," I replied. "How long have you had that cough?" My friend found it impossible to reply for many minutes. "It is nothing," he said, at last. "Come," I said, with decision. "We will go back. Your health is precious. You're rich, respected, admired, beloved. You are happy, as once I was. You are a man to be missed. For me it is no matter. We will go back. You will be ill, and I cannot be responsible. Besides, there is Lucchesi." "Enough," he said. "The cough is a mere nothing. It will not kill me. I shall not die of a cough." "True, I replied. "And, indeed, I had no intention of alarming you unnecessarily, but you should use all proper caution. A draught of this Medoc will defend us from the damps." Here I knocked off the neck of a bottle which I drew from a long row of its fellows that lay upon the mould. "Drink," I said, presenting him the wine. He raised it to his lips with a leer. He paused and nodded to me familiarly, while his bells jingled. "I drink," he said, "to the buried that repose around us, and I to your long life." He again took my arm, and we proceeded. "These vaults," he said, "are extensive." "The Montresors," I replied, "were a great and numerous family." "I forget your arms." "A huge human foot d'or, in a field azure. The foot crushes a serpent rampant whose fangs are embedded in the heel." "And the motto?" "Nemo me impune lacessit." "Good," he said. The wine sparkled in his eyes, and the bells jingled. My own fancy grew warm with the Medoc. We had passed through walls of piled bones, with casks and puncheons intermingling into the inmost recesses of catacombs. I paused again, and this time I made bold to seize Fortunato by an arm above the elbow. "The nitre," I said. "See, it increases. It hangs like moss upon the vaults. We are below the river's bed. The drops of moisture trickle along the bones. Come, we will go back ere it is too late. Your cough, it is nothing," he said. "Let us go on. But first, another draught of the Medoc." I broke, and reached him a flagon of de Grave. He emptied it at a breath. His eyes flashed with a fierce light. He laughed and threw the bottle upwards with a gesticulation I did not understand. I looked at him in surprise. He repeated the movement, a grotesque one. "You do not comprehend," he said. Not I replied. Then you are not of the Brotherhood. How? You are not of the Masons. Yes, I said. Yes. You? Impossible, a Mason. A Mason, I replied. A sign, he said. A sign. It is this, I answered, producing a trowel from beneath the folds of my roquelaure. You jest, he exclaimed, recoiling a few paces. But let us proceed to the Amontillado. Be it so, I said, replacing the tool beneath the cloak and again offering him my arm. He leaned upon it heavily. We continued our route in search of the Amontillado. We passed through a range of low arches, descended, passed on, and descending again, arrived at a deep crypt in which the foulness of the air caused our flambeaux rather to glow than flame. At the most remote end of the crypt there appeared another less spacious. Its walls had been lined with human remains, piled to the vault overhead in the fashion of the great catacombs of Paris. 3 sides of this interior crypt were still ornamented in this manner. From the 4th side the bones had been thrown down and lay promiscuously upon the earth, forming at one point a mound of some size. Within the wall thus exposed by the displacing of the bones, we perceived a still interior recess, in depth about 4 feet, in width 3, in height 6 or 7. It seemed to have been constructed for no especial use within itself, but formed merely the interval between 2 of the colossal supports of the roof of the catacombs, and was backed by one of their circumscribing walls of solid granite. It was in vain that Fortunato, uplifting his dull torch, endeavored to pry into the depth of the recess. Its termination the feeble light did not enable us to see. Proceed, I said. Herein is the Amontillado. As for Lucchesi, he is in ignoramus, interrupted my friend, as he stepped unsteadily forward, while I followed immediately at his heels. In an instant he had reached the extremity of the niche, and finding his progress arrested by the rock, stood stupidly bewildered. A moment more, and I had fettered him to the granite. In its surface were 2 iron staples, distant from each other about 2 feet, horizontally. From one of these depended a short chain, from the other a padlock. Throwing the links about his waist, it was but the work of a few seconds to secure it. He was too much astounded to resist. Withdrawing the key, I stepped back from the recess. Pass your hand, I said, over the wall. You cannot help feeling the nitre. Indeed, it is very damp. Once more, let me implore you to return. No? Then I must positively leave you. But I must first render you all the little attentions in my power. The Amontillado! Ejaculated my friend, not yet recovered from his astonishment. True, I replied. The Amontillado. As I said these words, I busied myself among the pile of bones of which I have before spoken. Throwing them aside, I soon uncovered a quantity of building stone and mortar. With these materials, and with the aid of my trowel, I began vigorously to wall up the entrance of the niche. I had scarcely laid the first tier of the masonry when I discovered that the intoxication of Fortunato had in a great measure worn off. The earliest indication I had of this was a low, moaning cry from the depth of the recess. It was not the cry of a drunken man. There was then a long and obstinate silence. I laid the 2nd tier, and the 3rd, and the 4th, and then I heard the furious vibrations of the chain. The noise lasted for several minutes, during which, that I might hearken to it with the more satisfaction, I ceased my labors and sat down upon the bones. When at last the clanking subsided, I resumed the trowel, and finished without interruption the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th tier. The wall was now nearly upon a level with my breast. I again paused, and holding the flambeau over the mason work, threw a few feeble rays upon the figure within. A succession of loud and shrill screams, bursting suddenly from the throat of the chained form, seemed to thrust me violently back. For a brief moment I hesitated, I trembled. Unsheathing my rapier, I began to grope with it about the recess. But the thought of an instant reassured me. I placed my hand upon the solid fabric of the catacombs and felt satisfied. I reapproached the wall. I replied to the yells of him who clamored. I re-echoed. I aided. I surpassed them in volume and in strength. I did this, and the clamorer grew still. It was now midnight, and my task was drawing to a close. I had completed the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th tier. I had finished a portion of the last and the 11th. There remained but a single stone to be fitted and plastered in. I struggled with its weight. I placed it partially in its destined position. But now there came from out the niche a low laugh that erected the hairs upon my head. It was succeeded by a sad voice, which I had difficulty in recognizing as that of the noble Fortunato. The voice said, "A very good joke indeed, an excellent jest. You shall have many a rich laugh about it at the palazzo, over our wine." "The Amontillado," I said. "Yes, the Amontillado. But is it not getting late? Will not they be awaiting us at the palazzo, the Lady Fortunato and the rest? Let us be gone." "Yes," I said. "Let us be gone." "For the love of God, Montresor!" "Yes," I said, "for the love of God." But to these words I hearkened in vain for a reply. I grew impatient. I called aloud, "Fortunato?" No answer. I called again, "Fortunato?" No answer still. I thrust a torch through the remaining aperture and let it fall within. There came forth in reply only a jingling of the bells. My heart grew sick on account of the dampness of the catacombs. I hastened to make an end of my labor. I forced the last stone into its position. I plastered it up. Against the new masonry I re-erected the old rampart of bones. For the half of a century no mortal has disturbed them. In pace requiescat.
One of the things I find most fascinating about this story is that we never actually learn what terrible offence Fortunato is supposed to have committed. For me, that's entirely the point. Poe leaves the grievance deliberately vague, suggesting that no slight could truly justify the horrifying punishment that follows. So, let that be a lesson to us all. If someone invites you into a dark underground cellar with the promise of exceptional wine, maybe decline politely. That's all for today's episode. Join us next week for a special conversation with Flame Tree Press author Catherine Cavendish, known to many as the Queen of Gothic horror. We can't wait to share it with you.
Thanks so much for listening. We really hope you enjoyed this episode of the Flame Tree Myth and Fiction podcast and look forward to the next episode. Do recommend it to your friends. Goodbye for now.